This is Tina Bar by Tia Blackcharn, Chapter 8, Logical Doors. Summary. First day back at UA after being kidnapped. Not fun. Warning. Description of abusive parents. Really, there's no other way to describe Inko. Depression / anxiety attack, and bakugou's typical violence. Oh. It's funny how one step into a place can make you feel like you're drowning. There's no relief or lightness on Izuku's shoulder when he stepped out in front of his door. Instead, he felt an old familiar weight settle back into its home in his chest and lungs. That made him draw each breath as a task. Home. Or at least that is what it should be. But never once did Izuku feel welcome there. Instead, he was ignored, criticized, scandalized, and neglected. Inko Midoriya was a uh, Inko Midoriya was a concoction of contraction and hypocrisis. Sorry, my word. Should go from treating him as a roommate to a child that needed every um every move recorded. Inko would never give him affection, then expect Izuku, to respond sweetly to her, and to not cause trouble for his poor mother. He wasn't always allowed to miss a phone call from her, while his calls always went to voicemail. She used to complain about parent-teacher conferences that she never attended. What a loving mother indeed. Home. Izuku doubted whether or not he ever truly found out what that felt like. For now, he heated up the other can of soup and tried to prepare himself for school the next day, in silence that was deafening. It was amusing to walk down the hallway of UA after having spent the weekend in the company of villains, especially two villains that had attacked the institution of education he attended. Izuku couldn't exactly bring himself to care. Instead, he tried his best to collect enough energy to open the unnecessarily large door of Class 1A. Why the damn door needed to be so large? Izuku had to think about the answer for a moment. wait, there's a possibility in the past or future students may not fit through a normal sized door. Quirk, quirk, quirks, mutations, and simply people being who were who were bigger than others existed. After all, Izuku sighed. Yeah, that made sense. But still, Izuku was small and didn't enjoy the fact that the door could be overbearing to him. He was glaring at the door, and when he noticed his homeroom teacher appearing next to him, looked um look not bothering to look at the man, and still glaring at the door. Izuku spoke. I know it's logical for the door to be so big, Sensei, but sometimes I wish it was smaller. Izuku looked to the side to see his teacher. Um, had to take a very long break. My sister called and not something that not she's wanting me to knock the house over. I just woke up because I took like a 2 hour nap on accident. Um, oh, give me a second. My brain. Izuku looked to the side to see his teacher looking at him. He heard the man sigh. I see. I'm glad to see one of my students share the same thought I do. But for now, let's go inside and start. Let's go inside. Class will start soon. Green Eyes returned to the door, and Izuku took a deep breath as if preparing for a fight. Alright, Ozawa-sensei, he said before finally pushing through. Ah, he said before finally pushing before before he finally pushed open the door. Words. Shota had thought Midoriya was one of his students he had to keep a close eye on since the beginning. He had been correct. But what he hasn't expected was for his student to still be standing outside the classroom minutes before the bell and look dead on his feet. He had known that Midoriya didn't particularly get sleep or a decent amount of sleep, but the appearance of Midoriya made him feel concerned. The team looked similar to how Shota saw himself sometimes. Then Midoriya, without even looking at him, noticed he was there and posed an odd question. First off, no one was really able to be aware of Shota's presence so easy. Second, no one ever said no one ever said the size of the door was logical. They seemed to forget the possibilities of students and teachers with a bigger than with a bigger than usual structure. Then there was Midoriya glaring at the door, acknowledging the intelligence of the design, but wishing, like Shota usually did, that it was smaller. When Shota's when Shota told his student they should get inside, he saw Midoriya take a deep breath, as if it was a task to go inside to see his classmates was as exhausting as it was for him. But what was most per, per, perplexing was seeing how the door opened. The smile suddenly appeared on Medora's face, how the exhaustion Joseph was sure he had seen was suddenly not visible anymore. In less than a second, his study completely changed. It was on, it, it was only until Azawa let let his class know they had a week until final exams that that he saw some of Midoriya's exhaustion peek through. Izuku could feel the aches in his hand when he heard about the final exams. The actual paper on test very con- what wasn't very concerned. He the, mm, the actual test on paper he wasn't very concerned about, but the practical that that he was worried about. Even when some upperclassmen told him it would be against robots, and several of his classmates looked relieved. Izuku did not. It was during a it was during a typical year. They did not have a typical year. Izuku suspected that Nezu had something special in store for the year for this year's exam final exams. Some Something twisted in his gut. Anxiety clawed up his throat, making him lose his appetite. He ignored the concerned looks from Ida and Uraraka, but eventually those who look who those who looks started to feel too much, and Izuku left the cafeteria. He made his way back to an empty classroom and let out a sigh of relief. Izuku sat down at his desk and put his head down, with the other reaching into his pocket to touch a familiar object he had brought to school. When he pulled it out, he was pleased a to see light from the window, making the marble shine. It's beautiful blue. He smiled at the memory of Compress gifting it to him. Izuku stared at the marble rolling around on his desk until his classmates returned. Oyama had smiled and complimented him on having something that that shined in his possession. But when the others came in, Izuku saw familiar red eyes. He put the marble away. He made sure to keep quiet and put his head down until their next class start. He he flinched at the booming voice All Might had when he entered um their room and announced that they were going to be doing some activities in one of the training grounds. The weight in his chest felt even heavier than before. Izuku got dressed in his hero costume, a lot slower than usual. Several worried glances were sent his way as the students waited for All Might, as as the man the man was somehow always late for his own class exercises. Izuku leaned against Shoji. The masked boy put one of his many hands on Izuku's shoulder. "Are you alright, Midoriya?" Shoji asked, with clear worry in his voice. He could see how Midoriya's face was unusually white, and how he seemed to be swaying. Shoji made sure to pull Midoriya closer to his side. Izuku let out a shaky breath and leaned his head against Shoji. The masked boy was strong, and Izuku focused on the sensation of Shoji's grip on him. "I'll be fine, but can I stay here like this for a bit?" he asked. Izuku felt a reassuring squeeze on his shoulder. "Yeah, Midoriya. You can stay there. You can stay here. I don't mind. Thank you, Soji." Izuku leaned against Soji when All Might arrived and explained to them what their exercise would be. Sparring matches. Again, quirks use, as usual, only allowed was what quirk use, as usual, was allowed. And once again, like some big comic joke, Izuku's sparring partner for the class was Bakugou. When it was announced, several worried looks were sent towards Izuku, and Soji seemed to pull Izuku a little closer. Everyone was taking turns fighting for 5 minutes. The class stood off. The class stood off to the side of one of the fighting areas, outlined in white paint, much like the one-on-one matches in the sports festival. Izuku sighed at how the setup left little room for improvement for his classmates. It seemed All Might had yet to take the variety of quirks and fighting styles in Class 1A into consideration. After every match, the twisting in Izuku's gut only gotten worse, and he stayed leaning against Soji. When it was Soji's turn to fight, the boy practically carried Izuku, giving him to Tokiyami. Tokiyami looked surprised for only a moment before nodding at Soji. Dark Shadow came out and burrowed under Izuku's left arm, and Tokiyami supported him on his right. When Soji returned, Tokiyami made no move to give Izuku back. The two simply stood at Izuku's side, but soon enough, All Might was calling Bakugou and Midoriya to the ring. Soji and Tokiyami shared worried looks, while Dark Shadow was hesitant to let go of Izuku. When Midoriya was at the outskirt of outskirt of the ring, he heard Sero say something. "All Might, Midoriya doesn't look so good. I think you should sit this out." Murmurs of agreement were heard, from the rest of the class, but they were drowned out by All Might's laughter. Don't don't worry. Midoriya is perfectly capable and will be able well, and it would be cruel to exclude him from the activity as it would also in impend I don't know the word. Yeah, some impend young Midoriya. Not young Bakugo, oh my god. The match will continue as planned, with each word which with each of All Might's words made the weight in Izuku's chest settle just a little deeper, and he had to scream at his feet in his mind to take the final steps into the ring in front of Bakugo. Izuku let out a ragged breath when he lifted his head to look at Bakugo's face. Even though Izuku knew he was probably looking sick at the moment, Bakugo just sneered at him and said, "You're dead, Deku." Before Izuku was giving a chance to attempt to take another breath, All Might yelled, "Begin." The only way Class 1A could describe Midoriya's match with Bakugo was one word: disturbing. They they all seen how unwell Midoriya had looked back since the start of All Might's class. They seen how Midoriya got dressed slowly and didn't seem fully there. They had seen the way he had leaned against Soji and sat and Soji and Tokoyami for support. Midoriya looked like he was gonna pass out or throw up at any second. When when Midoriya walked up to the ring, they couldn't keep quiet. Sero had called out to All Might, telling him that Midoriya didn't look well, shouldn't fight today. Everyone seemed relieved when Sero said this and agreed that they were sure they were sure that now that All Might had been told that the man would make sure Midoriya went to recover girl. But instead the hero laughed and assured them that Midoriya Midoriya was fine and the match would continue. Midoriya, meanwhile, said nothing and walked into the ring. He didn't look all there, but surely All Might would know best, right? They noticed how uh, All Might was somehow closer to Midoriya, but it wasn't possible that Midoriya was alright. Wouldn't All Might know if Midoriya needed rest or get help? These thoughts ran through their mind until All Might yelled, "Begin." Then they came to the conclusion that All Might was wrong. Bakugo had started the fight with a bang and started screaming the word "die," and they saw Midoriya barely miss getting hit with the brunt of it. Bakugo was ruthless, not giving Midoriya time to breathe without letting off an explosion. Now, usually, Midoriya would be able to keep up, but something was wrong with their favorite green-haired freckled classmate. The Midoriya in the ring was unsteady on his feet, and they could hear the ragged breaths. The Midoriya in front of them kept running from Bakugou, and they didn't, and even then they didn't see too much of great rain lightning. Why wasn't Midori using his quirk? All Might seemed to have the same thought as he yelled for Midori to use his quirk. The man seemed unaware of the clear distress the student was in. All Might, I don't think I think don't you think you should end the match? There's obviously something wrong with Midoriya. He's not okay. All all eyes went to Midori. All eyes went to the Manetta, who had been the one to speak up. They could see the clear concern in the short boy's eyes. Not fine. Mm, All Might asked, obviously sounding like he didn't believe what Mineta had said. You should not make this excuse for your fellow classmates. The fuck, the fuck, Deku. What, are you looking down on me, you piece of shit? Everyone turned around at Baku's yelling, and few of them a few of them gasped in horror as they realized what they were looking at. Bakugo was cleansing the front of Midoriya's costume. The other hand was in a position to let off another explosion concerningly close to Midoriya. Oh, in Midoriya. Oh, Midoriya. They could they took in the details of their classmate. He seemed to be hanging limply in Bakugo's grip, and they could see smoke coming from singed pieces of his uniform. The boy's head hung uh, the boy's head hung down to his chest, and they saw blood dripping onto the floor. Below, his breath his ragged breath sounded worse than before. Oh my god, Midoriya, Bakugo, let go of him! Kaminari yelled, running up to the two boys. But Bakugo turned around towards Kaminari with his face screwed up in anger. Ha! What the hell did you just say to me, dunce face? Before Kaminari could respond, All Might told Bakugo that the match was over with him winning. What about Midoriya? Um, asked Uraraka asked when All Might didn't say anything regarding the boy. You and young Kaminari taken to Recovery Girl, and then return back with them. I wish to give Midoriya some criticism regarding his match. Um, All Might said calmly before calling for the next students the next students up for their match. The, the next two students up for their match. Uraraka didn't waste time making her way towards Kaminari, who seemed trying to support Midoriya's weight as the boy seemed unable to carry himself. Thank you, Uraraka. Um, thank you, Uraraka. Kaminari said, which used her quirk to lighten Midoriya's weight. She walked beside Kaminari as the boy carried Midoriya. Let's get into Recovery Girl. Alright, I have so many issues with All Might at the moment. I forgot. He was like kind of an asshole on this and won't listen. But anyways, regarding, let's just push him out of our thoughts. Actually, no. Why, if you have several students telling you, okay, hey, there's something wrong with this one, I don't think they're well, as I think you should like let them like let them be taken to the nurse, send them to the nurse, send a, send them to the nurse, let us walk with them. Like let us one of us walk with them. Um if you were going to just completely ignore that from your students, and I am pretty sure in this fic, All Might still does not have his teaching license. One, why are you teaching at a school without a teaching license? Two, why are you teaching without a teaching license at a hero school? Three, why isn't there not another teacher? On the first day of his class, why wasn't there another teacher in that classroom? Not in the classroom, but whatever building they were in, because I cannot seem to remember at the moment. But whatever building they were in, frown something, I don't know. Um, maybe, I don't know. Who cares at this point? But why wasn't there another teacher there during the first day of battles? Or why didn't another teacher check over this? I mean, just because he now, at the time he wasn't, but just because he was number one hero, the number one hero, the symbol of peace, the peace and whatever. Why why didn't he why wasn't somebody watching him? Just because you have higher power doesn't mean you should be able to teach. It's ah sorry. That whole situation with All Might going into UA, becoming a teacher without a teacher's license. Oh my god. And I'm pretty sure it was like the Hero Commission. Maybe, I think someone wanted him in there to teach, to help teach future heroes. But wouldn't you kind of think that it would have been smarter to have him have a teacher's license, or at least a teacher's license in progress, so he know what he's doing? Until he fully gets his teacher's license, they should have had another teacher in that room as he was teaching. I get so mad about that. But I love that little moment between Soji and Izuku. It's like, that was so cute. Even though, like, Izuku was not feeling well, but it was adorable. It's like, can I lean on you? Yeah, you can. But anyways, I hope y'all have a very good day. This is the end of chapter 8. Um, I might already let's see how long chapter 9 is, and I will see how long chapter 9 is to see if I want to record it today. But anyways, I hope you have a very amazing day. Eat, sleep, um, It's like the second day of the year of 2025. Oh my god. To think about that. It's odd. It's very odd. But anyways, just goodbye.